So, when you think about what makes a business successful, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably profits, right? Big sales numbers. But what if I told you well, it's only half the story. The real measure of a company's financial health is more like a tale of two very different races. You've got this frantic sprint for today, and then there's this grueling marathon for tomorrow. Let's break it down.
I mean, you've seen this happen, right? A company is all over the news, reporting record profits, everyone's celebrating, and then, boom. Out of nowhere, the headlines are screaming that they can't pay their bills and they're filing for bankruptcy. How does that even happen? It seems completely impossible. Well, that's the paradox we're going to unravel right now.
The key to solving that mystery, it all comes down to asking the right questions. Because honestly, just looking at profits is like judging a book by its cover. It tells you almost nothing about what's really going on inside. To get the real story, you gotta dig deeper and ask two very specific, very different things about its money. And believe me, these two questions are what separate a business that just looks good from one that's actually built to last. Okay, so the first question is all about the now. Can this business pay its bills today? We're talking salaries, rent, suppliers, the immediate keep the lights on stuff. But then there's the second question, can it survive for the long haul? Is it still going to be around in 5, 10, maybe even 20 years? And here's the kicker, getting a yes on that first question, well, it doesn't guarantee you'll get a yes on the second, not at all. To make this super clear, let's think about it like a race. Paying today's bills, that's the sprint. It's fast, it's frantic, it's all about immediate survival. But making sure the company is still around in a decade, whew, that's the marathon. It's long, it's tough, it takes strategy. And here's the thing, to actually win, you have to be great at both. All right, so let's start with the sprint. We're talking about that immediate day-to-day survival. And in the world of finance, there's a specific term for this, liquidity. So what is liquidity? Simply put, it's about how fast a company can get its hands on actual cash to pay the bills that are due right now. Think of it like financial oxygen. A business needs it to breathe every single day. Yeah, it's this constant churn, right? Money comes in from customers, and it flows right back out to pay for everything. Wages, rent, taxes, you name it. And this is critical. A company can have amazing sales on paper, but if the cash from those sales isn't actually in the bank when the bills are due, that's when you get into massive trouble. That's a classic cash flow problem. So, how can you tell if a company is gasping for air? Well, there are some major red flags. A big one is when a company is supposedly profitable, but its actual cash flow is negative. It means it's burning through money. It's like the house is flooding from the inside. Sales are coming in, but money is gushing out even faster. That right there is the classic way a supposedly profitable business can suddenly go bankrupt. Okay, so a business is a good sprinter. It can pay this month's bills, great. But what about the marathon? What about next year or the year after that? Well, that's where our second big idea comes into play, solvency. Solvency is all about long-term health. The big question here is, does the company own more than it owes overall? It's about the very foundation of the business and whether it has the stamina, the structure, to actually last for the long haul. And the real danger with poor solvency is that it's sneaky. It's a slow-moving threat. A company can look totally fine on the surface, paying its bills, winning the sprint, all while this huge mountain of long-term debt is just quietly growing in the background. It's a total debt trap that, if you don't watch out, will eventually snap shut and just end the race. Game over. So what's the biggest red flag for bad solvency? A giant mountain of debt. It's pretty simple. If a company is running more on borrowed money than its own money, its foundation gets really, really shaky. Another huge warning sign is when profits are just barely enough to cover the interest payments on all that debt. Imagine trying to run a marathon while carrying a massive weight. That's what it's like. There's just no room to breathe, zero margin for error. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. Because depending on who you are, say a banker versus an investor, you're going to care a whole lot more about one of these ideas than the other. It really is all about perspective. Are you just looking to get your money back on a short-term loan? Or are you in it for the long game, for real growth? Your answer to that question completely changes whether you're watching the sprint or the marathon. Let's break that down. So you've got the banker. They might be giving out a 90-day loan. They care about one thing above all else, liquidity. Their only real question is, am I going to get paid back and soon? But then you have an investor. They're buying a piece of the company, hoping to see it grow for years.
They are laser focused on solvency. They're asking, is this business actually built to last? Will it grow my investment over time? See? Two totally different ways of looking at the exact same company.
So, which one matters more, the sprint or the marathon? The banker's view or the investor's? Well, you know what? For the business itself, that is completely the wrong way to think about it. Because for a business to be truly, genuinely successful, it's not about choosing one or the other. It's not liquidity versus solvency. It's liquidity and solvency. You have to master both. I mean, think about it. You can't win the marathon if you collapse in the first 100 yards, right? And what's the point of being a world-class sprinter if there's no marathon to even run? The two have to work hand in hand. There's a great quote from a chartered accountant that just nails it. Liquidity keeps you alive today. Solvency decides whether you exist tomorrow. It's that simple and that profound. You absolutely have to have both if you want to build something that lasts. So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, a truly healthy business, it manages its cash for that day-to-day sprint, and it manages its debt for the long-term marathon. But maybe most importantly, it understands that financial health isn't just a single snapshot, like one good quarter. No, it's a whole movie. It's all about the patterns and trends over time. And, before we wrap up, let's bring this home for a second. This isn't just for huge corporations. These same ideas apply to our own financial lives, too. I mean, think about it. Do you have enough cash on hand to deal with an emergency tomorrow? That's your personal liquidity, your sprint. And are you building a financial future that isn't crushed by debt? That's your personal solvency, your marathon. Something to think about, right?